Technology, innovation, and digital media have brought a lot of change to the market structure of our country, Nigeria. Today, Access Bank is hosting its second international conference in Lagos. Gathered at the Aiko Hotel as a former world leader, as well as global leaders from different markets and industries, influencers, and opinion makers. Pulse Nigeria brings you all the highlights from this event.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jose Maria Figueres. Thank you so much. Wonderful to see you.
Gentlemen, good morning. Buenos días. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Delighted to be back with all of you here in Nigeria. Let me welcome Steve Wozniak, who is, as you all know, co-founder of Apple. And
it's nice to say it.
My privilege, sir. So, this session on entrepreneurship and innovation has a world-class entrepreneur and a superb innovator to lead us off in a conversation where after we take some questions, we will open it up to yourselves because I'm sure that you would also like to ask Steve some questions. But aside from the fact that he's an entrepreneur and an innovator, there's something in his bio that you're not aware of, and that is the fact that very recently he has been a full-time educator.
My name is Amaka Okafor, and I am a travel consultant with Travelers Limited.
What do you think of the event so far?
It's been fantastic. You learned so much. Steve Wozniak was here. That's just like the craziest part. And we're basically trying to do innovations, how you can be innovative. And for what I do, we need a lot of innovation. So I'm here to learn.
I mean, it's been interesting. I've got to learn a lot of things and basically insightful. Yes, so far it's been insightful. Yes.
So are you into social media?
Yes, I mean, there's a lot for social media. As a business developer, social media is necessary because it helps you develop your businesses. I mean, it could break or make you within a second. So yes, I have a love for social media.
I'm Jonathan Henning. I'm a brand strategist at Twitter.
How are influencers made on Twitter?
That's an interesting question. So we actually like to call them creators. And the reason is that influencers are all creating something. They're creating a brand, they're creating content, either for themselves or for brands. So how are they made? They can be pushed by brands. They can develop something by themselves on other platforms. We work really closely with creators on Instagram and Vine as well. But yeah, essentially it's about having an authentic voice that speaks to a particular interest that captures the imagination of people on Twitter as well.
Jose Maria Figueres. I lead the Carbon War Room, which is an organization that works on climate issues, and I am the former president of Costa Rica.
Great. How are you finding the event so far?
Interesting, stimulating, and right on what needs to be said with respect to innovation. There is few things that are more important than innovating both the things we have done traditionally and the new things that are coming up over the horizon. And I say that because with increasing population the world over and a finite planet that is not getting any bigger, we need to be much more careful and mindful of our resources, how we use them, and for what we use them. And so innovating to produce things in a more efficient way, innovating to use less time when we're doing things, innovating to do chores that we normally do, is really something that is not only very stimulating from an intellectual point of view, but also very necessary.
What were some of the most important or salient turning points in that trajectory?
Okay, when we started out with computers, the whole idea was we had a guy that approached Steve Jobs and myself, Jeff Raskin, and he said, look, you can have sets of parts that do a job and build another computer with similar sets of parts. They do the same job, the same time roughly, they're roughly equal. But one of those computers, if you put a lot of work in and teach it to do things the human way, that computer, somebody who doesn't know anything about computers, who is not a computer expert, can come up and use it just as well. Wow, we were so influenced by Jeff Raskin. Both Steve Jobs and I believed in this philosophy. The human's more important than the technology. The technology has to be modified to do things the human way. So we put Jeff Raskin in charge of our publications department. And the rule was if the engineers developed anything in a product, the publications department had to be able to write it down in simple, understandable ways, or they would say, no, we reject it. The publications department could reject anything in Apple for a while. And we became known, our philosophy in the company came, make things easy for everyone, for people. The Apple II made a computer that was a big old box with switches and lights that you didn't understand, made it like a typewriter. They could play games with your own TV. That was understandable. Another big step that got taken was things got smaller and more personal. Eventually we got to the mouse base, the graphical user interface computer. Apple wanted to be, we went down and saw it at Xerox PARC, but theirs was going to be $50,000. That's not a personal computer, and that would be $100,000 today. Steve Jobs said, oh my gosh, we'll just do some Woz magic and we'll make it for $1,000. And he didn't understand computers. He'd never been an engineer or wrote programs. And it turns out to build that sort of a computer wasn't possible for $1,000. We designed it. We hired the best computer talent on the West Coast, on the East Coast. We had a lot of academicians working with how computers work with people. We experimented on people that knew nothing about computers to make it so obvious they didn't need a manual. And we made the Lisa computer, and it cost $20,000 of today's dollars.
How are you finding the event so far?
Very, very, I've been able to learn quite a bit from those I saw alongside my own panelists. It was really nice. Access Bank is doing something quite, it's good to know sometimes how people are more innovative, and that's where I think Nigeria needs to go to, because we have that intention of sort of following up with other people. So it's good knowledge.
As a business developer, would you say social media and technology have played like a huge part in building brands and identities and even contributing to the Nigerian economy?
Yes, a great deal. Most companies that, especially the clients I kind of work with, most of them believe, they have to do prints, they have to do traditional media. But, when you have to meet up with them and introduce the social media to them, it's like an eye-opener, what have I been doing so far, They have social media, they have Facebook, they have Instagram, they're like, one post per day, just talking about what I do. But when, I actually tend to maybe introduce social media to them, it takes their companies to the high level. People are aware of them and also what they do. Yeah, so it's basically been helpful for them so far.
How important would you say innovation is for a country like Nigeria?
There's no doubt that Nigeria has achieved a tremendous amount of progress over the recent years. But it still continues to be very much linked to the oil industry and economy. With oil prices down as they are today, it is even more important that Nigeria finds a way to diversify its economy. Through diversification of the economy, we're going to create the jobs that are needed by the young people in this country, new business models, economic growth, new opportunities for entrepreneurship. And those are all good things for a country that has the potential that Nigeria has. So the only way to achieve that is first through good governance, because we need to have good governance not only at the national level but also at corporate level, and secondly with innovation, thinking out of the box. What else can we do? How can we do it? What other things can Nigeria produce beside oil that would have a secure market in the global economy and that can diversify from what has become the mainstay of economic activity?
In fast forward this movie, and we're back here in 2025, looking back over our shoulders. What would make you proud of the next 10 years of Access? Where do you want to take it? Where would you take it?
I'll talk about two things. So the current Access Bank 5-year plan takes us to 2017. In that plan, one of the key pillars of that we will measure ourselves by would be a pillar that says that we want to be the world's most respected African bank. Now, the world-class conference that we hold biennially, which we are in today, itself is a sign of the respect that the world has for Access Bank. The world-class faculty that we have, and transformation and innovation that we're talking about today, what it means is that we are prepared for the changes that we're already, not just changes that will happen in 2025, but changes that we think will happen.
My name is Olasumbo Murakinyo. I've learned a lot. This is a great event. I've learned so much. I came with a mindset and I'm going with another. I'm going with, because I have different perspective towards doing business, towards especially unemployment. You know, we have so much restive youth in Nigeria. We have powerful youths, energetic, but they don't know where and how to exert the energy.
Company Red ran the social media strategy for the Nigerian president. So could you shed some light on that?
Through one of our agencies called Statecraft, which is a communication agency for governance. We ran the communication campaign beyond digital, so it's across demographics, across platforms, TV, radio, offline. And it was an exciting time. You know, it was an important watershed in our history. It reestablished hope in the minds of many Nigerians. And we are very proud to be part of such regenerative moments for young people who grow up not believing in their country or in their capacity to change their situations.
Would you say technology has helped the world of fashion in recent years?
I think the thing with technology is that it's allowed everybody to PR and sell and market their products so easily, and not just to one small society but to the whole world. So if you're a designer and you are based in Nigeria or wherever you're based, and you normally, in the olden days, you just have one shop, and the only way you would reach customers is by passing trade and by the people in that very small society. But because of the internet being a global means of communication, if you're a designer and you want to sell something, you could put it online and you have the power to sell that to the world. So it's opened up all sorts of opportunities and the things that businesses didn't normally have. But the only thing with doing that is that your product has to be strong. You can promote your product on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can spend thousands of dollars on building your own website to showcase your wares. But if the product that you're selling isn't strong, then all of that infrastructure, that e-infrastructure, is completely pointless.
Look, I think it's a simple question, really. I mean, our country has had many cycles where leaders, intoxicated by newfound power, find ways to control the beasts that help them assume power. And in each of those examples, they've roundly failed. They've roundly failed because they are unable to build the consensus necessary to push those actions forward. Nigeria has an uncanny ability to correct itself. You know, whether it's a third term, or it's whatever it is, we have an uncanny ability. And if you are an observer of data, and if you're an observer of social trends, and you know that the social media bill will not pass. The reason why it will not pass is because, one, it's a redundant law. There are already very well comprehensive laws against slander and libel in our country that have also captured and imprisoned and taken to court people who tweet and have blogs. And so it's a redundant law. Therefore, and there's already a groundswell of opposition against the bill. I assure you, I'm almost fairly certain that that bill will either not pass, or if it passes, it will become so redundant that nobody will have any use for it. Even worse, in 3 years, the people who are proponents of that bill will be so sad at how silly they will be.
It's been a great day at the Access Conference. My name is Princess Abumere for Pulse Nigeria.